After French forces defeated the Austrians at Ulm, the stage was set for a confrontation at Austerlitz. The Emperor deliberately weakened his right flank, enticing the Allies to launch an assault there. A forced march by Davout plugged the gap as the main French attack assaulted the Allied centre on the Pratzen Heights. The French forces under Napoleon are the attacker, and they will have one group of elite cuirassiers with Murat, two columns of infantry, one elite disciplined column of infantry, which will be the Imperial Guard, and one unreliable column of infantry, which is their weakened right flank. The Austrian and Russian allies will have one group of cuirassiers, both Austrian and Russian, under Liechtenstein, one group of fortified line infantry, which are the Austrians on the Pratzen Heights, one group of disciplined column infantry, that's the Russian Imperial Guard, one group of Russian light infantry, and one group of Grenzers, which is the Austrian light infantry. As Napoleon eyes the battlefield, he'll order his grand battery to open fire. Now there's no artillery units in the Orbat, so it's a straight roll for both sides, but the French will go first. And because he's going to be assaulting the Pratzen Heights, the target will be the Russian line infantry here. Need a 4-5-6. And those line infantry become unreliable. The Allies will fire back, and they'll be targeting the French weakened right flank here. But unfortunately for the Allies, that is ineffective. So where is Napoleon going to decide to attack first? Well, I can choose. I think realistically, because of the bombardment, we're going to go for the Russian line infantry here, the assault by the column of infantry on the left. So firstly, rolling for the unreliable infantry. They've steadied themselves. So it's into combat, and the line infantry will go first. Ineffective. And the French column strikes home. The Russian line infantry buckle under the pressure and are defeated. But the Russian Imperial Guard will move forward from the reserve. And for the second round, let's see where the combat takes place. In the centre. So the French are clearly continuing their assault up onto the Pratzen Heights, and there they'll meet the Austrian line. The Austrians will fire first. But that's ineffective, and the column will strike home, but it is against fortified positions. The French are repulsed. So where is the little corporal going to attack next? Well, it's certainly not going to be in the right sector. I think it's again on the left flank. So both groups are in column, the Imperial Guard for the Russians and the French line infantry. However, the Russians will be heading on a 3. And with that, the assaulting French columns are thrown into disarray, defeated, and will run away. But the French Imperial Guard will push up to the left. Let's see where the battle unfolds next. It's in the left sector again. The French Imperial Guard march straight up the hill to the Russian Imperial Guard. It's a guard-off. They're both in columns, the combat is simultaneous. However, the French will have an advantage. They need a 4 and the Russians need a 5. But that melee is inconclusive, and fighting continues to rage on the north part of the battlefield. However, the Allies will now switch to their left flank and attack here. Well, first of all, the French are unreliable, so we need to check on them. And they've gone. The French cuirassiers under Murat will immediately move to the right flank. End of turn. But I will attempt to rally the French column that went earlier in the day. Things looking dicey for the Emperor. So, decision time. I think Murat on the right flank is going to be given free rein against the Austrian Grenzers. They'll need 4s because they were in reserve at the beginning, and the target is light infantry. And the Grenzers are cut to pieces, only to be replaced by the Russian and Austrian cuirassiers. It's heavy cavalry-tastic. But the French Imperial Guard continue to push up to the heights on the left. They'll need a 4 and the Russian Imperial Guard a 5. And that's still a stalemate between the elites of both armies. End of turn. And I think it's time to rally the Russian line infantry. but they fail to respond. The Emperor has a look at the battlefield and is trying to work out where to strike next. The advantage is with the Imperial Guard on the left against the Russian Guard. He will go there. And that is victory for the French. The Russian Imperial Guard crack, and they've gone, and there's no reserve. Fighting continues in the left sector, but there's no one here. Which means the Imperial Guard can do a flanking manoeuvre on the Austrian line infantry. Needing a 3. And they've got it. The Austrians, having seen the Russian Guard to their north flee the field, will do the same. They've cracked under the pressure. The Pratzen Heights are unoccupied and the French swarm forward. It's a defeat for the Allies and a comprehensive victory for the Little Corporal. The Austrians and Russians will scuttle away, but that's probably the end of the Third Coalition.